Bonjour.
Bonjour.
What a pleasure, dear friends. Today, a treat. Today, heaven. Beautiful blue eyes as deep blue as the ocean, where the elixir gift of God will be the most expressed. That's why I'm wearing my blue jacket for you.
Oh, I feel so honored. Thank you.
We are with Petra, the founder of the Caviar company. I've had the pleasure to meet Petra several times throughout the course of my life here in California. She is, with her sister, a phenomenal entrepreneur, a great visionary, an innovator. She'll tell you all about it. She has created an amazing brand, an amazing destination, not only in one of the iconic places in Marin County, but as well in San Francisco. So, dear friends, I'm excited to introduce to you with our new JCB Caviar. Look at that.
All right.
Woo! We did it!
Thank you so much.
Well, Petra, it's such a great pleasure. Santé
Santé.
to the ocean. So, Petra, give us a sense of your background and how you get into the world of caviar. Because, dear friends, all of you around the world, you have a great lady entrepreneur. And we always love women coming forward in the world of business, in the world of sensory, because you ladies are the best. And you know it. You are the very best. So, your background and how you got started, because this is so fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for the introduction too, and thank you for having me today. So I am from West Texas. I did not grow up in a culinary environment with, fresh produce, fresh, amazing wine. And I was lucky enough to move out to Carmel, and I started working for Pebble Beach Food and Wine. And I got to do LA Food and Wine, which really opened my eyes and my heart up to the industry. I think it's such a unique industry of people filled with so much passion and love, and they work their asses off, but they have a great time, and they work together, they support each other. And it just sucked me in. I knew I had to be involved in this industry. And when I moved to San Francisco, my goal was to live in a big city. Coming from a college town in West Texas, I had a dream of living in San Francisco. And so I moved out to San Francisco with my sister and our two Bernese Mountain dogs, getting a tiny apartment right in the middle of the marina and starting our lives here.
Where all the cute girls are, dear friends.
That's
this
what we
is
heard.
Where to go, Dylan.
That's where we heard we were supposed to be, so that's where we went. And my first job was working in Caviar. I started working as a retailer, kind of more of an assistant admin role, just understanding more and more about caviar. And then I met my now husband. He's a professional sailor, and he convinced me to quit that job at the time and go travel around the world with him for the Volvo Ocean Race.
Yes.
And when that happened, I got a call from a caviar farm out of Sacramento, and they said, "Hey, we see you're no longer working for this caviar company. Can you come and work for us and help us with marketing? And we'll teach you about farming, we'll teach you about processing and everything that you need to know, to relay that message on for the marketing." And so they allowed me to do that while traveling around the world. And I had this great adventure with my husband. And when I came back, it was time to commit and to buckle down, and I really wanted to work on my career, building something from the ground up. So I decided to start my own company with my sister, Saskia. So she is the brains of the family. She's a CPA. She's licensed in Texas and California, and she knows all the answers, and I do the marketing and sales. And so between the two of us, we were able to start the Caviar company. We started out of our apartment in San Francisco, and my husband was a pretty, we call him special ops. Like, we have a business card for him now, and he's our special ops guy. He paints, he lifts the heavy things, he fixes anything, he does airport runs for pickup for caviar shipments. You know, he's our special ops guy.
I love it. And he
to,
takes you sailing and get those beautiful sturgeon in the ocean, I'm sure.
Well, if we could get it from there, we would. Yeah, he would be able to catch it. Like if anyone could, he's
special ops.
He's the special person for sure. But so he helped us get a huge commercial grade refrigerator in our tiny apartment in the marina, up all the stairs and narrow pathways. But then we moved into the back of a law office in the marina also. And then from there, we opened up our Union Street location.
Wow. Quite amazing, dear friends. So how is it to be to all the ladies and men, because we all want to be entrepreneur, how was it to get started with your sister and out of nothing, in a world that you did not really know, that you moved into and you said, we're going to go for it? What went through your mind to say, we're jumping and we're doing it?
You know, we had this idea of a way to change it, to work on changing the industry. And we felt like we could always go back. You know, if we fail, we can always go get a job somewhere else or do something else. It's kind of the mindset that we had. Obviously, we were taking a big risk. We started this company with our savings.
Yes.
And we've bootstrapped it this whole way. We have no investors, no bank loans, no anything. We've completely bootstrapped this company, which we're really proud of.
Well, let's have a toast for that.
Cheers.
But that's so cool, because so many people think, oh, I need trillions to start something, or I need investors, or I need enormous bank loans. And sometimes, as you're proving, you just do it with your own bank account and you get started.
Right. And I think there's so much, we're better off for that, because we analyzed every spend, every decision down to a T. And it made us learn so much about how things are made, how labels are printed, you know, digitally printing labels versus buying all the label plates right up front. Or, you know, obviously we have a luxury brand though, right?
Yes.
We have a standard that we need to maintain while being money conscious. But it really, again, we were just extremely frugal and it made us make really smart decisions, I think, I hope, and so far it's working. But we had to really think about everything.
So you decide to be an entrepreneur. The big question, West Texas, hard to find caviar. Even Pebble Beach, yes, but you know, it's not like you're in New York, Paris, or Moscow, or Tokyo. So why caviar, and why did that intrigue you specifically?
I think I love a product that is a niche product, you know, and I think you probably feel the same, that what you've created is, everything is so special about what you've created, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting to talk about. It's changing, it's evolving. Like what we taste through today, they're all different products, and they're visually different, flavor-wise they're different, and it's just such a great conversation piece, and it opens people's minds up to something different, whether they're trying caviar for the first time, whether they want to learn more about caviar because they had it at a restaurant but they don't know what they had.
Yes.
You know, they know they had a dish with caviar and accoutrement, but they don't know where it was coming from, how it was raised, what the diet was, and so we've kind of taken that responsibility to really work on education.
So you decide to do this. You name it the
Caviar Company.
Can you imagine? Sharp name. I cannot even imagine it wasn't even taken.
Well, you know, there are pros and cons to it, actually, because, I mean, all we do is caviar. That's it. That's what we know. That's our lane. That's our passion. And that's what we love. However, we have learned over time that we have to work really hard to create an identity. You know, whether it's like we're the Caviar Company that was started by two sisters, we're the Caviar Company that's based in San Francisco. Because if you think about it in conversation, like, oh, where'd you get your caviar from? And you say the Caviar Company. And sometimes you might say, well, which one? Right? So we're really needing to work hard on our branding to overcome that downfall. I don't want to call it a downfall, but that challenge. Yeah,
the more generic name of the Caviar Company, then you need to say, which is my next question. You know, when you think about the Caspian Sea and you think about Iranian-Russian relationship, a lot of those have changed over time, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So now the sourcing of how many tons in the world are produced? Is it 100 tons?
More than that.
More than that?
Yeah, more than that. I think I'm throwing numbers out there, I feel like, at the moment, but I think it's more like 150 to 200.
Okay.
And then, 70% of that is coming from China.
That's right. So farm with sturgeon or sometimes non-sturgeon.
Right. That's the thing too. And that's what we love to really, get excited about, teaching people what to look for when they're buying caviar so they know. We call it counterfeit caviar, and there's a lot of that. And it's so easy. We even on cruise ships, for example, it's really common to find, you'll see something, it looks like a presentation, like a caviar service presentation, self-serve. You see a pile of black eggs, all the accoutrement, and come to find out it's not actually caviar.
That's why there's a lot of accoutrement.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where it came from, right? To mask caviar that's either subpar, that's maybe expired, because it started when they were transporting caviar from Moscow and from Russia to Paris, years and years ago, they were transporting in there's no cool transport.
Yes.
So by the time the caviar reached France, it was essentially spoiled caviar. So then the chefs brought on the onion, lemon, chives, those really strong flavors to help mask that caviar.
So when we see a lot of accoutrement, we got to be careful.
Yes and no. I've seen some of the best restaurants doing the accoutrement because the presentation's so beautiful. And I'm a person too, I like to customize anything on my end. My food, I really love to make it my own, and that's what's really fun about the accoutrement. But you don't want to overpower something that's a really lovely caviar that kind of shows on its own too.
So you start to create this company. So how did you go, as we're going to be tasting, dear friends, in front of you, because we have this talking about presentation, look at how gorgeous it is. And we're going to thank as well our friend Cara Chambelin, who helped facilitate this wonderful time, who is within the Boissé collection, the experts on caviar and bubbles. So, it's fun to bring all of us together to celebrate, because this is what we're doing. So when you thought about sourcing, when you thought about, farm versus Caspian Sea versus the few sturgeon farm available in the US, how did you go about it? Because this is a difficult water to navigate.
It is, but it's also a very small world. So we know it doesn't take long for news to get around about what's going on with other farms or other purveyors. And, we know who's mislabeling, we know who's not paying their bills, we know who, it's such a small world, so people talk, and so reputation is really important. And that's what's like for us, we love, obviously there's a lot of competition out there, especially in the Bay Area, but we love it because it holds us to a high standard. We also, as an entrepreneur, it gets you drive, it gets your gears grinding a little bit.
Up.
Yeah, you
and we enhance it with the wine.
Absolutely. How can you make it better, and how can you keep your quality as high as possible while keeping pricing competitive? Because there's that balance there, that pricing also, everyone has a business to maintain. These chefs have budgets to stay in, but we need to keep that quality high too. So it's a challenge. And so sourcing is very challenging, but thankfully, like I said, it's quite a small world and there's a lot of overlap. So we might be getting the same caviar from another purveyor that's also in the Bay Area, but it's about relationships and how can we really work on those relationships to make sure whatever we're getting from that farm is the best that they're producing. Not because, with everything, it could be an amazing farm, but you also, every fish comes out different, right? Mm-hmm. And so we talk about grading caviar, and some of the eggs are darker or smaller or have less texture to them, less pop. And how can we work on those relationships and make really great friends to where we can secure that great product?
I could see those gorgeous, beautiful blue eyes can get whatever they want.
Just a little please. Please, you catch more bees with honey, excuse me.
Ooh, I'd better learn.
It doesn't hurt to be nice and have a smile from time to
So shall we dive in and give
Yes.
our friends? So what you've prepared is an incredible presentation, actually. So, you know, when people think often it's the big pancakes and it's a lot of cream and it's a lot of accoutrement, you know, the white egg, the egg yolk separated, the onions, the chives, and the whole enchilada. Sometimes it's very simple.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we at the JCB Lounge, in all our lounges, have caviar. It's part of what we do. And you know, which is so cool is you've opened as well your lounges now, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
So as we showcase, and I know Dylan is getting closer to us, look at that. So what do we have here?
So here, in your honor, we have our heart-shaped latkes. And then we have just lightly salted potato chips, and then your traditional French blini.
Ooh, French.
Yes.
Not even Russian.
Of course not. We're at your lounge.
Ooh, you got me excited. And then we have your fabulous presentation. So, dear friends, this is the gorgeous logo, as you could see, of the Caviar company. And you could see the two sturgeon representing the two sisters. I'm obviously extrapolating on that, but I know
I appreciate that.
they're both gorgeous swimmers in the Marina Bay. And you could see the saber or the sword of Poseidon. You know,
Yeah, the trident. And within the trident, you can actually see the Golden Gate Bridge.
that's
Which
right.
on the smaller jars, it's a little bit harder to see, but
Yeah.
within that, it's supposed to represent the Golden Gate
So
Bridge.
anchored in San Francisco naturally. So when we have three caviar like this, of this color, so, you know, you mentioned the different color tones. How would you recommend that we taste? And we'll give you a demonstration tasting with our JCB caviar, which was really made specifically to be enjoyed with caviar or smoked salmon or seafood, because it's an 85% Chardonnay, 15% Aligoté from Burgundy, minimal dosage, but still, you know, rich and opulent. I'd love your comment on this.
Sauté.
Santé.
I do really pick up on those creamy notes too, I think, that, you know, with seafood and with that salinity that seafood can bring, especially with caviar, I think it's a perfect, beautiful, beautiful pairing.
I'm excited because you're one of the first ones to see it. This is called JCB Caviar. It actually fits so well. Your label as well. In many ways, they work hands
They
in
go
hand.
together.
Look at this. Dylan, I'm making it perfect for you.
And we actually will have this in our tasting room now. We got our first shipment. We're so excited. It's on the menu at our tasting room in Tiburon. You can come in and try the caviar champagne.
I'm trying to show you as Inspector Clouseau. So that's the French blini. So how do you make those?
So these are prepackaged. This is something that we sell in our retail store,
Okay.
but we do import them from France. And they're really nice, light, and fluffy. And something else that I really like is the size.
That's right.
Because if the blini get too big, then you're too tempted to bring on all the accoutrement. And you almost make like a caviar taco, you know, which
That's
isn't what you're usually going for. And you use a lot more caviar. And our approach is that, you know, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to enjoy caviar, and a little bit actually goes a long way.
Yes.
But I think it is based on the strategy of how you're serving it too, to enjoy it with more people or get more servings out of it.
And it's so noble and elegant and beautiful. So how do you recommend, shall we do a mini tastings to
Yes,
showcase
absolutely.
to our friends? So you recommend at home we buy 3.
I think the variety is so fun because, again, a lot of people just go to a restaurant and they have caviar service and they don't know what they're getting. They don't know where it's coming from. And even whenever Saskia and I started our company, of course, we were wanting to talk about it to everyone who would listen. Like, oh, we're starting a caviar company. And everyone, the common response was, I love caviar. And we would be excited to talk about it more and say, what's your favorite? You know, and then the common response was caviar. And we have 12 different products altogether, ranging from like the roe, so trout and salmon roe, and then all the way up to our most premium Russian Osetra. So, but we have a variety of pricing in there too. But I think it's really important for people to learn to taste the variety so they can learn what they want, whether it's more creamy or more meaty or more rich or earthy. You know, how do you know what you want unless you try side by side? Similar to like a wine flight. You know, that's how you learn what grapes you prefer and what textures and dosage levels and things like that. So you have to you learn by trial and error and experience.
So let's do it the real way.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So we start with a lighter.
Yes, and that's a perfect place to start.
So we're going to serve it on our hand. So explain why we do this way.
So this is the oldest and most traditional way of tasting caviar. It's called the caviar bump, actually. And so way back, cheers.
Cheers.
When you used to be able to taste caviar at the fish market, and you would buy it in the big blue tin, and they would just throw it on the back of your hand, and then you could decide which tin you wanted. So.
And that's the most tender part of your hand. So you'll notice no hair, very tender, very gentle. And typically you don't pick flavor in that area of the hand. So that's why they always show their fist and you do it that way.
Cheers.
Voila.
Has that salinity, that creaminess, and now let's try it with the...
Crystal Caviar, Baccarat, JCB, the Caviar Company. Those are good words together.
They all flow, don't they?
So what does the wine do to you with the caviar? What is your, as the expert that you are, bring as a dimension?
To me, I think it helps with, like I was saying earlier, with the salinity of the caviar, but it also brings out so much creaminess of the fish, and it really rounds out the entire bite to me.
Yeah.
They definitely complement each other very well.
It's amazing and difficult.
Together.
You know, we'll try cabernet shortly and caviar as well, but it's always, for me, an enormous caviar consumer forever, because as much as I love as a Frenchman to promote foie gras, I'm much more emotional and ethereally attracted to the ocean and to the caviar eggs. I'm a big fan, and I don't always find the right pairing with champagne. And I've tried every one of them possibly with caviar, and it's not that easy. This is why for 7 years, we've been trying to find with Osietra, Sevruga, and as well specifically Beluga, how do we really get the perfect, balance on the tongue, savory, salt, richness, and that umami,
And
moment.
they just work together as a team. I think what's really fun with pairings is to find, sometimes there are pairings that kind of go parallel to each other, and then there are some that contrast each other, but in a good way.
That's right.
Not to where it, like you were saying, sometimes it's really hard to find a good pairing with caviar where if you have a really dainty, delicate, sexy caviar, it can just disappear with the wine. And that's what's beautiful about this, is that it still is a showcase piece. They're a teamwork working together, and I think this is really beautiful to pair.
Now, what I love here, and I'm going to give you the second one, your temperature is fantastic. So, dear friends, be careful, not too cold, not too warm. So, give us the right way as your friends arrive at your house. How long before, what's the right temperature so it melts?
So we keep it, when you store it, you want to store it in the coldest part of your refrigerator. All throughout, you want to keep it really cold. But then again, right before serving it, you want it to kind of temper a little bit. And I think just putting it on a bed of ice, opening up the container 10 minutes before your guests arrive is perfect.
Great. So you get a little bit to room temperature without too much.
Right, because then if it gets too warm, it'll start to sweat a little bit, and those oils will be too apparent.
I see. So now,
Cheers.
santé.
Santé.
We're going to different tone of color. We're moving a little darker. Wow, beautiful pearl, beautiful bulb, huh?
I was about to ask you about that. So this is the Kaluga hybrid. And that's why the Kaluga is so special, because it has such amazing texture. The Kaluga is the closest relative to Beluga.
Oh, yeah.
It's the way that it's farmed, and it's one of our best sellers. We go through kilos and kilos of this every single week. I would say
Really?
it kind of hits everything on the palate too. You get the nuttiness, you get the creaminess, I even have some earthiness, some moss characteristics sometimes. It tells the whole story.
Very impressed.
Thank you.
Very impressed. It's the whole story. So if you were to say to anyone, you're getting into my world, this is my caviar company, this would be the one you want to showcase?
I think so. Well, we haven't tasted the third one yet. We have to taste the third because there's a special place in my heart for the third one, flavor-wise, but it's notoriously a softer egg.
Yes.
So the Siberian sturgeon, this can be farmed in France. We can get it from Poland, Madagascar, Uruguay. The flavors of this are amazing and delicate, sexy.
Yes.
And smooth, but again, the texture isn't quite match up to the Kaluga. So I go back and forth between the Kaluga and Siberian.
So let's see.
This one to me is umami.
That's my favorite of the day.
Oh my, it is
But
so
I would go
good.
back and forth with all. If I had devil egg, or maybe we try the first one with the accoutrement. Perfect. The second one, maybe just with the blinis, maybe no cream. And then the third one, just leaking.
I agree. You nailed it.
Getting this tongue to you. The last one is like a French kiss. I would be intrigued to see which one, in fact, would you pair with the Cabernet that we have from Chateau Buena Vista?
For this selection here today, I think it would be on the range of the Kaluga. Because it has that full story, it just has a broader.
Shall we try it with an accoutrement?
Yes.
And try it with the Cabernet because, dear friends, Petra owns multiple places. So maybe you want to say to all our friends where they can come and taste.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a retail store on Union Street in San Francisco. So we're right in the middle of Cow Hollow. And for that, you can just come in, ask questions, learn about the different price points, the different sizing we have available, and we'll walk you through the products to try to help guide you to make the best selection. And then in Tiburon, where we last saw you.
That was so fun.
Right in the middle of downtown Tiburon.
Gorgeous outdoor patio, phenomenal place, beautifully decorated.
Thank you.
And we had bubbles, caviar, looking at the bay, looking at San Francisco. I mean, that's a
pretty
dream in
dreamy.
itself.
Yeah, it's a great location, and it's a really nice place. That is where we have items like a truffle grilled cheese with caviar. We have oysters and caviar. You can do caviar flights, so you get kind of a sampling flight of the three varieties that you can taste side by side. And now you will get to pair it with your champagne.
Well, thank you. We're so excited because, when you make wine, Petra, as you know, as you create those amazing flavors and dishes, we dream of the perfect pairing as well, the perfect person, the perfect emotion, the most fabulous celebration. And our dream was always to do a JCB caviar, which means really the most pearlescent pairing with this pearl, this black pearl that is one of the most rare, gift of the ocean. And we finally did it. So I'm thrilled that it's going to be in your lounges.
I know. We're so excited to have it. We've been big fans for a long time. I had your wine at my wedding, your Cremant.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, at our wedding.
And you said yes.
Yeah.
Well, so now maybe something else you want to tell us is all the great virtual programs, tastings you do, because many of you are all around the United States and the world. So if you're not in the Bay Area per se, Petra, as you can see, is very charming and so articulate that you can order right? And you do special events, right?
Right. And so what we can do is curate special flights for you and your group. So that way you can still get together with loved ones virtually across the country. And we kind of send you everything you need. The whole kit with the blini, the flight of caviar, creme fraiche, the pearl spoon, and we'll walk you through the tasting and really get into the nitty gritty of the caviar, of where it's coming from, how it's farmed, when it's processed, and how that affects the quality of the caviar.
And can we book, let's say, Petra, I'm having 10 people tonight or 12. I'm going to buy 500 grams of caviar. I'm going to do 3 different kinds. Can you appear on a Zoom with me in my living room so my friends can hear it from you? Do you do that as well?
Yes, all the time. Like on a weekly basis, we do that. We have a whole team now, and we're able to execute it easily, and it's something we love to do because again, our passion is to talk to people about caviar, to spread that caviar love and knowledge, and to make people feel more comfortable around caviar.
So now let's dive into a world I don't know as much, of course, as Petra. Let's try to do something that will go very well with the Cabernet.
Okay.
What would you recommend?
Challenge accepted.
Aha! We going.
Well, obviously we'll try them all, but I do think maybe starting with the Kaluga.
Yes.
And sometimes because the Kaluga has such great texture, that's one I like to do with potato chips.
Great.
But also I do the royal white sturgeon with the potato chips as well because it's so creamy.
Great.
So it depends if you want to start with a potato chip or let's maybe do a blini.
I'm in your hands.
Oh no, that's so much pressure.
I'm entangled in her eyes, so I cannot decide.
Okay, all right. So with the Cabernet.
So this is a Cabernet Napa Valley from the oldest winery in California, founded in 1857. And what I'm excited to tell you, as you know, we're opening the Cabernet Caviar, Champagne, and Chocolate Lounge as well on First Street, right here in Napa.
I know, that's so exciting.
So we'll be seeing you there as well, because it's fun, for all of us to collaborate about what we have to offer as very unique experience. And we want all the world to do it. And you could think, Cabernet Caviar, are you serious? Not just champagne? And we're gonna see.
Okay. Oh, you're ready. My hands are clean, just so you know. A little bit of chive is all you need, I think, and with the creme fraiche. It's the testing time.
Wow. Uplifting. Phenomenal to bring a lot of the essence of the eggs without the fishiness of the ocean, bring the creaminess and enhancing it, specifically with a little bit of the cream as a lift.
That's perfect.
Wow.
So you're still getting the caviar in there.
I'm still getting the caviar. I'm getting the Cabernet. I think it's a phenomenal pairing.
Great. I'm so glad.
Do you want to try it yourself so you could tell us what you think?
Absolutely. And I also think, too, this is where a Russian Osetra really comes into play well, too, because the Russian Osetra, to me, has a lot of meatiness to it. It has those oils and that richness.
That's right.
And so I would be excited to try the Osetra as well with the Cabernet.
Did you notice, dear friends, very little amount of creme fraiche. So it's not creme fraiche with 3 eggs, it's reverse. Often I see people putting so much cream or creme fraiche that it's a creme fraiche with a sprinkle of.
I know, and it really is overpowering. It definitely it really rounds out the bite and balances the bite. However, like what Jean-Charles was saying, that you really don't need a lot.
And then I have a very big question for Petra on sourcing. So what is very important in wine, from the vineyards we own, the farm, if you wish, the estate, we control the process. Here you do a selective role where you select the best farms, you bring it to your facility and you create. So after you tell us what you think with Cabernet, explain us your skill into being really a true selector, a true identifier of the best of the best.
So first with the Cabernet.
What do you think?
It's amazing.
Is
It's
it?
great. And I really think I think the blini is a really nice way to go too, to give the bite that more substance and help protect the caviar in a way to stay around a little bit more in your palate with the wine. So I think it's a really fun pairing. So that's exciting. I really like it.
Do you like the wine too?
Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad we're doing it together.
But back to your question of the selection process.
Yes.
You know, one thing that obviously it is difficult and takes that time to get those relationships and to make sure that our quality is what we need it to be. However, the nice thing is by not having a direct interest in a farm, it allows us to maintain the quality throughout the entire year. So, for example, one farm that we work with, that we love to work with, sometimes they might have an issue with their water or have a really, really hot summer that affects the caviar, and then the quality starts to change. And, you know, we like to be loyal to our suppliers. We like to build those relationships.
For sure.
But on the other end, we do have a standard to uphold, you know? And so that allows us a lot of flexibility, and we just are fully transparent about where the caviar is coming from. So for example, the Siberian sturgeon, we can get it, like I mentioned, we can get it from Poland, from France, from Uruguay, and even now Madagascar, which is really fun.
And explain us, because I know many of you are asking yourself the question, Siberian, you think, okay, Siberia. So how could you and why, and what's the limitation of calling it Siberian caviar, and what does that really mean?
So it's all about the species of the sturgeon. So that is the casual name of the fish. It's an Acipenser berry, right? It's a scientific name. So anytime that you see Siberian sturgeon, it should be coming from an Acipenser berry species of sturgeon, and it's actually native to France. It's been found in France.
She really wanted to bring two Frenchmen together.
Yeah, exactly. But also what's really unique about the Siberian specifically is that it's a relatively low maintenance fish to farm. And that's why you're finding it in Uruguay and Madagascar, where sturgeon are actually not native to the southern hemisphere.
Ah.
But they've been able to successfully take these fingerlings down to those places and farm them and raise them and create great product.
Pretty amazing.
Right, it really is. But I think understanding, you know, it's hard to remember these names and hard to remember what species of sturgeon belongs to each type of caviar. But it is actually really important because it's really common that you see Siberian Osetra.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Absolutely.
And there's no such thing.
Nope.
Because Osetra is one of the traditional caviars coming from the Caspian Sea, it's really common that you see people overusing that word, and they use it as a marketing tool or a way for you to think, oh, Osetra, I know that must be good caviar. But it's so common, like you'll see California Osetra, there's no such thing. Same with Siberian Osetra, it's either Siberian sturgeon or Russian Osetra. There's no blend. There's no blend on the market. And so I say it's like calling like a Labrador, a boxer. Shepherd. Yeah, as a completely different species of fish.
And do you, on the caviarcompany.com website, you explain all that as well?
We do. We don't go as far into like
the details
of what to look for, but we display like where we make sure that our on our website the scientific name is there, but we don't go into detail of what to look for and what to avoid necessarily, but we make sure to have full disclosure on our website.
Great.
To tell people where the caviar is coming from, what farm it's coming from, or where the farm is that it's coming from, and what the species name is, because whether it's farmed or wild.
Isn't it an exciting world?
It is really fun.
The world of caviar.
It's exciting. I mean, when I first started our company, I can remember reading a news article about there was a shortage of salmon roe.
Yes.
And a hearse was driving from Russia to China filled with salmon roe on like black market salmon roe. And they got in an accident. They got busted for illegally trying to export salmon roe in a hearse. And and we hear a lot about things happening in Sacramento too. A lot of poaching, a lot of mislabeling, a lot of because there's definitely a black market out there.
Whenever there's a luxury products, it could be pearl, it could be diamond, it could be
Right.
gold, it could be rubies, emerald, sapphire, in this case, black pearl. There's always deviation, sadly.
Right.
But you doing as well a lot of festival, I understand. There's a lot of things. Maybe before we talk about your last question, your inspiration, you tell us about all the things you have planned in the next 9 months, festival, guest appearance, programs, whatever.
We have so much going on all at the same time. We're starting to do this afternoon tea program in Tiburon that you can book through Talk. We have a lot of weddings in the pipeline. We just did Paris Hilton's wedding in November, which was really fun. It was really exciting for us to get to go down to LA and do that.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of weddings, a lot of wine release parties coming up. We do make sure to always talk about it on our website or on our Instagram, just at the Caviar Co. And we're also starting to do winemaker series, which we'll definitely want to talk to you about down the line in Tiburon.
We coming.
And we have a brand new chef in Tiburon he's lovely and starting to work on some new exciting menu changes and things like that.
And that's the fun, because you could do a lot more than you think with Caviar. And
So much.
sprinkle it everywhere, because let's say you do smoked salmon for your guest. You get a 30 gram or 50 gram or 100 gram, even better, and you little crème fraîche on the side, and then a little cluster of black eggs, and it suddenly looks beautiful and it adds flavor.
And then your cup, it just really elevates, just like your bubbles. From the second you open it and you get that pop, it just kind of gets you going and gets your senses going, and you're going to have a great time. And that's why I think where caviar and champagne really started to be such a great pairing together from the get-go was that celebratory, sensational feeling that you get just being around it.
Exactly.
Hearing those bottles open and seeing these beautiful pearls and eggs just glistening in the light. I mean, you're going to have a great time.
Well, you're great inspiration. So what really, Petra, inspires you?
I think...
Because you don't stop, you're a great entrepreneur, obviously.
Thank you.
Recently got married, and maybe some exciting news to share down the road. What gets you going with your sister, or just by yourself?
I think I love a challenge. I love to make a change, and I love to figure out, okay, what are my goals that I need to do today?
Yeah.
How can I kick today's ass?
I love it.
How can I
Ass
do
or
it well?
tail, because the sturgeon has a tail, right?
That's true.
What does he have? How do you call the back of the sturgeon?
Yeah, the
Fish tail?
the fishtail. Yeah.
Learning English?
But I think my dad he's still around. That sounds like he's not, but my dad is an extremely hard worker. He came over from Holland, came over to West Texas, started his own business from the ground up.
Congratulations, Daddy.
And
That's cool.
He has always worked so hard, and I've always appreciated that and always known that I want to work hard too. Not only I have a very I really want to make my parents proud, but I also want to do this for myself too. I see where hard work has gotten, and I want to build that myself for my own family and create these experiences for my family while having fun. That's important to me, is to work hard and play hard mentality that my dad had too. And I think that's something, those are words to live by, is to work hard, play hard, and make a change and make an impact. Where can we see room for improvement? Where can we see room for change? Like, that's why we started this, because we saw a place to make it better. So that's kind of...
So well said.
Thank you.
Besides caviar and wine, because we know how much you know about wine and you're a big wine lover, what are your passions?
I think being by the water is really important for me. And and
she married a sailor.
of course.
So you're lucky, man.
Yeah, and you know, when we travel a lot, or we used to, I think traveling and seeing the world and opening our eyes and minds to different experiences are really important. And that's what I want to show my family. I have a 2.5-year-old baby girl, and I give her caviar. She loves salmon roe. I mainly give her salmon roe because I just don't open up like a jar of Osetra for her on a Wednesday. But I want her to have an open mind and just to be a good person and to see the world and see experiences that we're so lucky to have around us, especially in the Bay Area. I mean, it's pretty amazing what we have locally, but to see what other cultures are like and to bring and to take something from all of those, right? And to build her up to who she will be when she turns into a young woman.
Wow, exciting. What a passion. So maybe now, you know, we always ask the ultimate question. You look at the camera and you give us all a big statement of inspiration. What would that be for you to the world? The big message coming from Petra, founder with a fabulous sister of the Caviar company.
I think for me, my big message would be that you have to try it. You know, you have to take that leap of faith. And, you know, there is risk in a lot of things that we do on a regular basis, but there's also reward. And sometimes it doesn't always work, and you have to be ready for that or prepared to fail. But, you know, I think with the right attitude and putting one foot in front of the other, there are always options, there are always solutions and problems and fires to put out and ways to solve them with the right team and the right people around you.
And she's wearing the right stone. Did you see the amethyst right there? You know, that's her color. You know, we just passed the month of February, which gave birth to those beautiful blue eyes. And, you know, here it is. Well, I want to thank you so much. That was so...
Thank you for having me.
Incredibly educational. We're so excited to do with JCB and many of our wineries a lot of great things with the Caviar company, with two sisters, two ladies entrepreneurs that are really succeeding to change and educate the world on caviar. So well done.
Thank you so much.
And now I'm going to go back for the last one. What about you? As we do, we're going to have the toast. Shall I? Maybe I feed you and you feed me.
Well, I should get...
What about that? Look at this, dear friends. Are we ready?
Cheers.
Love, passion, and Caviar company.